Well, I'm refreshed. It's a good thing I took a day off for myself to get myself straightened out and be refreshed to do this for all of you. So it's time to get cracking. So we're going to be reviewing two past events from last month of October. One is by Xtreme Pro Wrestling with Halloween Hell 3. A couple of championship matches took place and a lot of death matches. And of course, we got Future Stars of Wrestling that took place on the 23rd called Mecca VIII. A lot of also championship matches took place in this one. And then finally, AEW Dark Elevation with 9 matches that were booked. We're also going to do a small discussion talking about what really was going on in the mentality of Saya Kamitani when she botched the second Phoenix Star splash onto Mina Sherko and resulting of her getting hurt, breaking her teeth. Now, there's a lot to talk about that, but we're going to make this into a positive understanding what was going on in her head. And then also we got some news updates to tell what's been going on in the world of pro wrestling. So, let's get ready for another episode of Deleted Wrestle Zone.
Are you ready? Get up, get up! 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 Get up, get up!
Welcome everybody to Deleted Wrestle Zone, all things that is pro wrestling with AEW, NXT, New Japan Pro Wrestling, Impact Wrestling, the National Wrestling Alliance, various promotions, wrestlers, matches, and championships. I am your host, J-Rod here. So, let's begin with Xtreme Pro Wrestling with Halloween Hell 3 took place on the 22nd of October. Now it opened up with the owner, Rob Black, who in fact was giving a little promo saying that he has changed his ways. He's like the Vince McMahon, but let's be honest. Did Vince McMahon really turn heel, like face, on much of the occasion? We don't know. But yeah, now our opening match is a women's death match. We have, I don't know this person, La Dark Shantia taking on Mickey Knuckles. Now, Mickey Knuckles is the fan favorite, but I think this was one of those death matches, that I think it shows us, okay, Mickey was the fan favorite. But however, it was Shantia who picked up the victory when she pinned Mickey in this one. I don't know if that was planned or what, but it kind of went in that way. But in the result of it, you can see Mickey's ass already bleeding. I'm like, ooh, that's bad. But yeah, that's what took place. Now our next death match is Hardbody versus Drake Younger. Now Hardbody, he's a very crazy SOB from what I can tell. Not to mention, he would go great lengths to win, but it was Drake Younger who applied a somewhat version of the Gringo cutter onto the Gringo Killer onto Hardbody to pick up the win. Our next match is a Playland Death match between Pagano and Dirty Ron. Now, I want to make this note here. Dirty Ron is the guy who I talked about, the promoter from Fist Combat. I'm going to presume this could be one of his last matches before he got arrested. There's a lot of things going on now. Dirty Ron in this particular thing is he's basically trying to be more controversial in this particular promotion. We don't know what's the deal on that, but he used great lengths to pick up a good win. Everybody were looking at Pagano as the fan favorite, but Dirty Ron applied a burning elbow onto Pagano to pick up the win. I did not anticipate that from him, but it was interesting how it is. But Pagano gave out a great promo saying that he's thankful for the fans and Viva Mexico and God bless the United States of America and that sort of thing. So it's a good thing for him to say that. Now, we have an elimination match where we have, for the first time ever, the XPW Fight TV Championship. We have Willie Mack versus Judge Joe Dredd versus Human Tornado, Brawler Big Cooper, and versus Biggie Briggs, and then a mystery person turned out to be this female wrestler named Kat Martini. Now, Kat Martini was the last entrant when Willie Mack got rid of almost everyone, but somehow Kat Martini was trying to tell Willie to eliminate himself to become champion. But all of a sudden, we have Shantan who comes out to help Martini in order to become our first. This became a very controversial type of match. Many fans probably are not happy with this result. So yeah. But the thing is, Kat Martini was earlier in the commentary booth. No one knows where she went afterwards, but yeah. So I guess it's explained it. Now our next match we have Necro Butcher being accompanied by Jasmine St. Clair taking on Terex. Now the match seems like it favors Terex, but however, the referee who decided just to flip off Terex in order to say that he aligns himself with Necro Butcher, calling themselves MAGA. Now I'm not sure if this is the whole thing with, of course, the whole political thing. I'm not gonna bring that up, but it seems that in this particular match, Necro Butcher put a submission hold onto Terex, and of course the referee called it, saying he was already out. So basically, Necro Butcher is the winner, and he looks like he has a referee on his payroll. Next death match, we have Sage Sin Supreme versus Soyrek. Now, this match was insane, and not to mention, this is Sage's wheelhouse because it's Halloween. Come on, Sage, I've seen her. She is so incredible in death matches, but she has to go through Soyrek. But she was able to apply the defeater when she had her land on a board full of sharp aluminum cans, and of course she finished her off with an elbow drop to pick up the win. Now our next match we have the XPW World Heavyweight Title, Vampiro taking on Masada. This match turned into a different type of story where Rob Black seems like he's siding with Vampiro, but it seems things didn't go well for Vampiro. He did not win the match, and it ended in favor of Masada when he applied an inside package in order to retain the title. But of course, late things didn't go well, and Rob Black once again showed his true colors. Our next match is a ladder match involving the XPW King of the Death Matches. We have this guy named Angel. I don't even know who he is, taking on Schlank, who I've seen on GCW. Schlank was in a battle where he had to take on multiple people who were trying to prevent him from retaining the title, but he would, against all odds, even his valet was getting attacked too, but it did not stop him to obtain his objective was to remain as the XPW King of the Deathmatch champion, and he was the one who picked up the win and retained the title. So I don't know if this is one of the good events from XPW, but certain storylines did fit that I like. But overall, the matches, it's all right. I mean, nothing can top like GCW stuff that I enjoy the most. But that's basically me of my opinion. But if you guys ever get the chance to see it, then you know what I mean. So I think right now we should move on to our next review, and that is Future Stars of Wrestling. Okay, Future Stars of Wrestling, Mecca VIII. This one took place on the 23rd of October. Started out with the FSW No Limits title between Kenny King versus um, Matt Vandegrift. This match was great, but however, I think this match was showed the resilience, how Matt Vandegrift was going to take on someone who has far more better experience than him, and that is Kenny King. Kenny King saw that he was about to pull off the antidote on him, which is a similar type of move as the Shining Wizard, but it only took two antidotes to finally take down Kenny King and retained his title. And I thought it was very interesting by Matt Vandegrift that it worked the second time. Next up, we got Sam Adonis taking on Remy Marcel. This is more of like, okay, who's the far more superior wrestler? Um, Basically, that's what it was going on. But however, Sam Adonis got away with this by applying a low blow to Remy in order to win the match. Ref didn't see it. It was done from there. Next up, we have a 5-way match, I believe. We have Jordan Oasis versus Danny Limelight versus Brandon Gadsden versus Cutthroat Cody versus Damian Drake. Now, this particular match was very interesting because apparently there's certain people that don't like each other. And I think that kind of sets the tone of it. But however, near the end, I did saw how Damian Drake had Oasis right where he wanted, but Danny Limelight took advantage of it, decided to remove Drake in order to pick up the win. So he gets the win on this particular match. Now, our next match is the FCW Nevada State Championship. We have Jacob Austin Young, or as we call him, JY, taking on Gregory Shape. Now, this is a very interesting dynamic match where a little bit of the technical aspect, but however, Gregory Sharp, who looked more like a stone cold killer, was on the verge of trying to ensure that he retained the title. But of course, an old fashioned brainbuster was the one thing that sealed the deal for Sharp to retain his title for the Nevada State Championship, and he still retained it. Our next match, we have a very unique tag team match. We have Team Violence, consistent of Bateman and Funny Bone, who are technically not on good terms, but they're not afraid to admit they have an objective. They take on Team Filthy, Tom Lawler, and a partner of his choosing. It turns out it's Danny Limelight who's pulling a double header. The match was pretty well explained. However, it was more determined than ever. But the obvious question is, will Danny Limelight actually apply 2 for 2 for himself and also for the Team Filthy? But it was Danny Limelight with the sleeper hold onto Bateman. However, the first time it failed, but luckily Tom Lawler gave him a striking kick to the chest, forcing him lying back. And once again, Danny Limelight applied the sleeper hold, and of course, Bateman had no other choice but to tap. Now, our next match, we have Bad Dude Tito comes out with his manager, the same guy who accompanies Sam Adonis. So he set out a special open challenge, and the person to respond is Gore, Gore, Gore. That's right, Rhino. Now, Rhino, as you know, is the fan favorite in this match. But of course, once again, the manager of Bad Dude Tito gets involved and makes sure that he doesn't win. But Tito used Rhino's tights in order to win the match. But Rhino didn't just didn't walked away empty-handed. He actually speared uh, Tito's manager and giving him the perfect at least I walked away with that. Now our next match, we have the FCW women's title. We have Dark Sheik taking on Viva Van, who is currently undefeated in FCW. It's kind of interesting to hear that she's undefeated, but I think Viva Van is a very interesting wrestler. I've seen her many times on various promotions, but I think it was a pretty good one. But some of you may have thought, okay, Dark Sheik hacked this one. The band, if you're a big fan of her, guys know what I'm talking about. But Viva Van was the one, once again, remained undefeated when she pinned um, Dark Sheik in order to retain the title. But in the end, she gained respect with Dark Sheik, and there's nothing shame in losing. I have to say, Dark Sheik really put up a good match here with Viva Van, and always loved seeing Dark Sheik's matches every single time. Now our next match, this is the semifinal. This is the FCW Tag Team titles. We have Chris Adonis, also known as Chris the Masters, as the Masterpiece, teaming with his old pal Carlito versus TBA, Shogun Jones and Hero Lou. I thought this match was pretty interesting because we are seeing two veterans taking on some of the younger talents who are currently making a big name for themselves. You probably would have thought, okay, Adonis and Carlito had this in the bag, but no, it was TBA who picked to TBD actually picked up the win, and I'm like, it was great. It was Shogun Jones who pinned Carlito. 1, 2, 3. They retained the titles. Now our main event is a ladder match for the FCW Mecca Grand Championship that was vacant, and it was a three-way match. We have Brian Cage versus Chris Bay versus Alex Hammerstone. Now, keep in mind this particular match, you have Chris Bay, who was the smaller out of the everybody else, taking on Brian Cage and Hammerstone. I feel like Chris Bay was the underdog in this match because he's smaller, but the only main weapon he has is his speed. It was, of course, his speed that allowed him to get on top of the ladder and bring down the Mecca Championship to win. However, he gets a surprise message, video message from Johnny Morris, Johnny Multiple, or as we know him, John Morrison, Johnny Nitro, however you want to call it. It seems that he wants to have a shot of that title, so we'll see when that takes place. So overall, this event was pretty good. I liked it. It was really nice. So nothing wrong with that. So I think it's time to end it right here and move on with our final review, AEW Dark Elevation. Okay, AEW Dark Elevation, our final review. We have Abaddon taking on Amy Rose, who debuts in AEW. If you guys aren't familiarized with Amy Rose, she was the manager in Ring of Honor. I can't say I've ever seen her wrestle before. Now, if anybody out there knows that she has, please let me know so I can look it up. But you can say this match ended in favor of Abaddon when she applied Black Delilah. 1, 2, 3, it was over. Now, our next match is the ROH World Six-Man Tag Team match. We have the Trustbusters, consisting of Ari Daivari, Slim J, and Jeeves K, along with Sonny Kiss and Parker Boudreaux, taking on Dalton and the Boys. I thought this match was pretty fun and interesting, but however, the X factor is this: Parker and Sonny will always be the ones things that intending to ensure they win this gold, but they really won it when, of course, uh, Dalton had Jeeves K right where he wanted, but there was a moment where Jeeves K misfired onto Ari Daivari. But of course, everybody got a boy, but it was Dalton Castle with a batarang onto, I believe it was Jeeves, and 1, 2, 3, they retained the titles. Now, we have an interview with Alex Reynolds, who is ready to set against, what's his name? Chris Sabian. So there's a lot of similarities that he mentioned about himself, but there's a little difference between them. So I have to say it's going to be interesting to see these two. Now our next match, we have Athena versus Abby Jane. Now this match, it was pretty good. Abby Jane, who I've seen many times over and outside of AEW with other promotions, takes on a much popular wrestler, but it was Athena with a crossfade type submission move that sealed the deal. But there was a moment when she decided to be disrespectful to Abby James. Now, I want to make this as a note. I don't know for sure if now they're going to switch Athena as a heel. That is one thing that we still haven't seen yet, but we will find out soon enough. Next match, we have Ty Mello with Sammy Guevara taking on Trish Adora. You probably can guess this match ended in Ty Mello with of course, the take KO, and boom, it was it. Our next match, we have Dante Martin versus Eli Izam. I thought this match was great. A bit of like the whole cruiserweight type, junior heavyweight matches. I thought it was a fantastic match that I enjoyed. But however, as always, it was the nosedive by Dante Martin to pick up the win. I'm very happy that took place. So I give kudos to that. Now our next match, we have a trios match. We have Logan, Easton, LaRue, Red Titus, and Cheeseburger taking on the Factories, Cole Carter, newest member Lee Johnson, and QT, along with Aaron Solo and Nick Camarado. Now, this match had some interesting dynamic workings between both Lee and Cole Carter, but however, it was QT with the multiple diamond cutters trying to take the spotlight. And of course, he puts out in promos and he doesn't give a damn what people say. But his promo was in fact interrupted by some video where you see one of those nails, ones you use to cover with the hammer. It makes no interesting, but it is common that we have seen QT made enemies over time. But the obvious question is, who's out in it for him? Well, that's another story for another time. Next match, we have tag match Eddie Kingston versus Ortiz versus Miles Hawkins and Joe Keys. Now you can guess this one ends with Eddie Kingston applying that submission move that he normally uses, and once again he goes out of his way not to let go until Ortiz tries to reason with him. So That sets out great. Now our next match we have Kip Sabian versus Penelope Ford taking on Alex Reynolds alongside with um what's his name? With John Silver. I thought this match was pretty great. Now I have to say it showed how Kip Sabian is now making a great move for himself now that he is newer and ever wherever direction they're going with him. He applied the anarchist suplex. It did not work, but he was able to apply a reversal inside cradle onto Alex Reynolds to pick up the victory. Our main event, we have Angelico, the Butcher, and the Blade, along with that psychotic bunny, taking on Rocky Romero, the Best Friends, or Chuck and Trent alongside Danhausen. This match was a lot of fun, but however, Danhausen was about to give the curse to Bunny until Butcher got in the way. He got cursed himself, but it was Trent Beretta who picked up the win when he pinned uh, Blade, and 1, 2, 3, it was over. So I think this was a pretty good fun match. I pretty much enjoyed. Now let's move on to our next topic, which is going to be DWZ discussions about what was really going on in the mentality of Saya Kamitani on November 3rd at the Hiroshima Goddess Festival.
Get the guns, the drugs from my generation. I'll take the fall, the saints, and across the nation. And it's a sin, the guns, the fake, the fraud, the messing with me. Come on, come on, come on, let's get it on. Move to the music, play that fucking music. Move it to the music, yeah. Move to my music, play that fucking music. Live through my music, yeah. Now get the guns, the drugs from my generation. I'll take the fall, the saints, and across the nation. And it's the sex, the god, the fakes, the fraud, the messing with me. Come on, come on, come on, let's get it on. Move to the music, play that fucking music. Move it to the music, yeah. Move to my music, play that fucking music.
Okay, this has been now spread what's going on. Before we know, let's recap what I'm talking about. If you guys saw the latest Stardom, one of Stardom's biggest events, the Hiroshima Goddess Festival, you saw exactly what happened. Near the end of the match for the Wonder of Stardom Championship, Saya Kamitani did 2 botches of the Phoenix Splash, but the second one resulted of her foot landing, her heel of her foot land on top of the jaw of Mina Shirakawa, and resulting of her teeth being knocked out, jaw messed up, that sort of thing. Now, I've been following Twitter a long time. 2 X Factors have been coming in. The first one I want to get it out of the way. People criticize Stardom because they allowed Mina Shirakawa to do her post-match comments after the match, but she was still bleeding. People say how dare Stardom allow that to happen. Now, made her do that. Some people spoke on Twitter on this case about it was Mina Shirakawa who suggested it because she did not want to hide from her fans. And I have to say it could sell in some ways. Like the injury will make her stronger than ever. But that's not what the topic is about. Some people question Saya Kamitani on this one. Now, before I proceed, Saya Kamitani has tweeted recently that she's now being cyberbullied about this whole thing. People, please, we need to stop that crap. We don't need another Hana Kimura tragedy. That's the last thing I want. And you guys are not making this better. Accidents meant to happen. But the question did remain is this: the mentality we don't understand. We can say it was an accident all we want. Some of you are saying, no, J Rod, she did it intentionally, so don't try to make things up. No. We don't know what really was going on in the head of Kamitani. I reviewed that match over and over, and even the moment itself. But there's certain things we can agree upon. Why did Kamitani apply a secondary Phoenix Splash when she botched the first one? That to me, it shows she could have done something else without doing that. Now, what was going on in her head? And someone commented this on a review on the Stardom Cast podcast. Something I agree upon. Maybe they thought that this moment was like to way to sell the story, and it would make sense. But I don't think Kamitani was thinking, okay, I botched this move, I have to move forward with it. And I don't know if Stardom are going to review what took place, because I feel they should make a rule. If you cannot execute the first attempt, don't execute the second. Try something different. And I think that's something that we need to understand. And I feel that that is something that was probably not thought of. Now, some of you can say, is this a right course of action? Yes. Now, keep in mind, when a wrestler is in the ring, you're not only responsible for yourself, you're also responsible for your opponent's well-being. And I think that's what caused Kamitani to do that. And I don't think she was thinking clearly. I think she was in the moment, and that's what resulted for her to apply the secondary Phoenix Splash. But we all know what happened, and she feels terrible about it. But I think the story is gonna sell where when we can see Kamitani, she's like selling that she's sent her to despair. But I would guess that Mina will come back and defeat her and strip her of the title, will take the title away from her and telling her, thank you. I crawled out of hell and now I got what I wanted. And that's how I can sell it. So if that's the case, then we'll see what happens. But the obvious question does remain. We don't know if the process. Now, Mina did say she wants to have a rematch with Kamitani. Now, we have that initial thought that it's a possibility that she could lose the title at Dream Queensdom on the 29th of December. This has happened before, last year with Tam Nakano. That's a possibility, but we just don't know if that's going to take place like that. So we just got to wait and see until that day comes. But however, I did look up interesting. Right now, Kamitani has about maybe 10 or I think 10 victory defenses. She's not that she's only three more like two more defense like three more defenses away from catching up to Momo Watanabe. Now, are they going to have her say, okay, we're going to stop her there from there to ensure Momo stays as the most consecutive defenses? Possibly. So we'll see what Stardom does, because to me, I would like, if I was trying to say the story, I'm going to have Kamitani stop either one victory away or maybe tie, whatever they're going to do. But because of this, we need to, Stardom should consider, if you screw up on the first botch, don't do it again. Just try something. And I need to ask you guys, if you guys know any pro wrestler, ask them that question. I will go back to this until I talk to some of my local wrestling buddies here and see what they tell me, because I feel I could ask them that question. I feel like I want to pick their brains. So we'll see what happens. So right now, let's move on to news updates. Okay, as you know, we're not that far off from the upcoming Stardom event in Showcase Volume 3. Now it's been almost, what, 2 months, I believe, or where we had the recent showcase. This time we're going to have some interesting matches. Our first one that was told, we have a judo jacket rules match. It's going to be involving Tamiya Yoshida, Maika, and Mirai, and Hanan. All four of these ladies do have a background. I don't know exactly how this judo thing is going to work out, but it's going to be interesting. Another match has been announced. The Anywhere Falls Count four-way match. We have this time Azumi and Koguma, and they're brought in Starlight Kid and Ram Coucher once again will be involved in this. So that's going to be another interesting. Starlight Kid is another wrestler. I feel like this is going to be fun. And finally, we have a hardcore match. But this one was a very interesting one. Tam Nakano and Natsupoi went to see Rossi Ogawa in a video where they posted on their YouTube channel. They asked permission if they can sing Double Frontier, which is the entrance theme song they use when they come out. Rossi Ogawa says that he'll let them do it under the condition that if they win their match in a hardcore, they'll do it. But the match is going to consist with them, with a third partner who is still haven't been decided to take on prominence. So we're going to have, of course, Suzuki, Akane Fujita, and Hirage Kurume will be involved. So I don't know who will be the third partner. So gonna be pulling through. Now, next up, our next update: New Japan Pro Wrestling has announced for the upcoming annual tournaments, tag team style. We have the juniors, the Super Junior Tag League, and World Tag League. So this is who they have for that particular day. Now let's see. Let me pull it up. Okay. This is who's participating in Junior Tag League. We have Ryosuke Taguchi teaming up with Clark Connors, Kushida teaming up with Kevin Knight. Once again, the Flying Tigers, Tiger Mask, and Robbie Eagles. A somewhat version of Roppongi 3K, Yo and Leo Rush. Alex Zane and El Lindaman, who briefly worked before in Gleet. Bushi and Tain, they're my pick to win. TJP and Francisco Caro, United Empire. Then we have Suzuki Goons, Kanemaru and Doiki, and then we have Bullet Club members Ace Austin and Chris Bay, and finally from House of Torture, Sho and Dick Togo. So that's who's going to be. Now, as for for the World Tag League, this is who they're going to have. We have Tanahashi and Toru Yano teaming up once again. We got Bishamon, Hiroki Goto, and Yoshihashi. Alex Coughlin will be involved, but now his partner is been revealed to be Gabriel Kidd. Lij, Sonata, and Naito, who teamed up before in the past. We have United Empire's Great Khan and Aaron Henare, who Aaron Henare decided to step up for with Jeff Cobb after losing to FTR. Aussie Open, Davis and Fletcher. TMDK, Mikey Nichols and Shane Haste. Suzuki Goons, Minoru Suzuki and Lance Archer. Bullet Clubs, the Crown Jewels. We have Bad Luck Fale and Chase Owens. And then finally, House of Tortures, Evils, and Yujiro Takahashi. So that's going to be interesting to have. Now, it has been announced for RevPro for the upcoming event, Uprising 2, that will take place on the 17th of December. We're going to have Leon Slate taking on the Technical Wizard, the Master Dickhead, Zack Sabre Jr. I'm looking forward to that match. JCW has announced for their upcoming event, the Series of Survival, on the 19th of November. We have all members of Young, Dumb, and Broke taking on the Wayne Maddox, consisting of Nick Wayne, Leon Slater, Dylan McKay, and Alec Price. So that's going to be a very interesting matchup. Now, for our GCW updates, we have for matches and stuff, other things. We have for the 20th of November on Aurora, we have Ninja Mac versus Blake Christian versus Tony Deppen versus Leon Slater. That's going to be good. Title match will be, it's been announced for the tag team titles at Wasted Time on the 3rd of December. It's going to be Macizos versus Two Skull Scorpio and the Sandman versus Second Gear Crew, Warner and Matthews. Then our next event for that on the 4th, we have on one afternoon only, Billy Starks versus Tony Deppen. And then finally for America's Most Wanted, that will take place on the 16th. Masha Slamesh returns to GCW. I'm looking forward to that. Interesting matches have been signed and booked for the upcoming DEFY wrestling event, the Fight Wave, on the 26th of November. We have Rocky Romero taking on Powerhouse Hobbs. Then we have tag team titles being on the line. We have the new tag team champions, Second Gear Crew, Warner and Matthew Justice taking on the former champions, the Bollywood Boys. And then, of course, a very interesting dream match, Nick Wayne taking on Wheeler Yuta. That's going to be a killer match. Now, DDT Prestige Wrestling has announced for their upcoming event on Vendetta, which is taking place on the 21st of January of 2023. DDT star Shunna Katsumata will be making his debut in that particular alongside with Mao, which is great. Seeing two guys from the same unit, 37 Kamina, I'm very happy for that. It was announced by West Coast Pro. Can you work Fridays? That will take place on January 6th. Speedball Mike Bailey makes his return. Now, interesting developments coming in from Ganbare Pro. It was announced that Yuna Manaze will be in action on the 19th of this month. She takes on Ichika Miyabi. Now, don't know those guys who don't anybody who don't know who she is. If you guys saw New Blood 5, we have Chanyota being escorted by this person behind them. Uh, if that's Ichika Miyabi. If you guys don't know who she is a trans Yoshi wrestler. She made her debut with PPP Tokyo this past September. She was invited by Chanyota to try out, and looks like she's going to make her first appearance with Ganbare Pro. And I have to say, it's very interesting that Miyabi will be making her presence known there, and she is the third trans that I know of in Japan who's wrestling. The first one is, of course, Veni, and then, of course, there's Asuka, and of course, there's Yu Yoshino, formerly known as Kagetsu. So there's nothing wrong with that, but I'm looking forward to see how Miyabi would do. Interesting developments coming in for the upcoming. For if you guys know this or not, there's going to be a biopic film based on the Von Erichs. If you guys know who they are family royalty in the wrestling business. They're calling the movie The Iron Claw, which is the signature move of the Von Erichs. It was announced that when this movie was being brought upon, it was told that Zac Efron will be playing part in the movie. However, at the time, I did not know who he was going to portray, and it turns out he was going to portray the last surviving Von Erich, Kevin Kevin Von Erich, which is, I think, is a very interesting role. Personally, I would have thought he would play Kerry. Kevin Von Erich even says that he doesn't know who he is, but his daughter's seen him. But they like the idea of him portraying their dad, and I think is a nice thing. So he said he hasn't been in contact with Zac Efron or anything since then, but this was coming from TMZ themselves. And finally, now as you know, we have the New Japan and Stardom historic crossover coming up soon. There was a press conference that took place. I haven't reviewed it, but however, something come across my attention. If you guys have been aware or not, Desperado and Starlight Kid have developed a great friendship. Desperado was hoping to have a tag match with Starlight Kid, and he wants to have it against Rina Yamashita and Jun Kasai. Now, if you guys know this, Jun Kasai and Desmi have been back and forth with each other. I thought that's going to be interesting, but Starlight Kid has her dealing with Rina Yamashita during of course, she never had that opportunity to take her on at the showcase due to the fact she was involved in something else the last time. But I would say it would be interesting, but don't know when that match will take place or if I'm sure Despi will try to make a push on it, which is something that, of course, Taichi has done with him teaming up with Natsupoi and Tam Nakano. So we'll see what happens then. And I think that's pretty much it, what we have. I believe it's time to call it a day. Well, I hope everybody enjoys this episode. Coming up, we have Tuesday Wrestling, NWA, AEW Dark, and of course NXT. Now, if there's anything before that, I'll put that up as soon as possible. But for now, I'll just stick what I'm going to be putting. I know there's several events I haven't reviewed yet from last month of October, but hopefully I get time to catch up with everything. So let's keep moving forward. But I'll see you guys on the next DWZ time. Same DWZ channel I must bid all of you adieu. So, goodbye. Mwah. And have a nice day. Bang.